You're watching CBS and Mountain News coverage of Attack on America. Now from the studios of WYMT TV in Hazard, here's Tony Turner and Jill Hammond.
Terrorism rocks the country. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tony Turner.
And I'm Jill Hammond.
Thank you for joining us for the special edition of Mountain News at 6 o'clock. We will rejoin CBS News for more coverage of today's events. Right now, we want to bring you up to date along with the reaction from around Kentucky. The terrorist attack on America certainly shaken Americans and the world. 2 hijacked airliners slammed into the World Trade Center in New York.
That was followed by a deadly attack on the Pentagon. We begin our coverage tonight from those 2 cities, starting with Gretchen Carlson in New York.
We are just a mile away from the site of where the World Trade Center buildings used to stand. As you can see behind me here, there's still a tremendous amount of smoke coming from that area. Many other major buildings are still burning at this time after the worst terrorist attack ever. It's being called another Pearl Harbor. 2 hijacked commercial airliners deliberately flown into New York's World Trade Center towers.
I basically got on all fours and I just crawled to the door, hoping that I was crawling the right way.
The well-coordinated terrorist attack left gaping holes in the skyscrapers and both towers in flames. Thousands are injured and a still untold number of people are dead. Just a short while after the planes hit, both towers crumbled.
We're watching the people fall from the building, and then we just saw the whole side of the World Trade Center just fall right off, and it caught a couple of us, and we just made a mad dash all the way down here.
Hundreds of bystanders on the streets of Lower Manhattan were covered in soot, many in a state of panic as they unexpectedly witnessed the worst terrorist attack in the history of this country.
It's war. It's declared war, and we need to now pull together as a nation.
The people in New York City can demonstrate our resolve and our support for all the people that were viciously attacked today by going about their lives and showing everyone that vicious, cowardly terrorists can't stop us.
FBI officials confirm 4 commercial flights were hijacked this morning, with 2 of the planes being flown directly into the World Trade Center target. 50,000 people work in the World Trade Center buildings, but it's impossible to know how many of them may have actually been inside during this attack or how many people are dead. I'm Gretchen Carlson, live in New York City. Let's go now to my colleague, live in Washington, D.C., Terry Okita, with the rest of this horrific story. Terry?
Gretchen, thank you. The symbol of America's military might is still up in smoke more than 7 hours after this terrorist attack. The search and rescue continues at the Pentagon, so there's no definitive numbers of dead or injured. The city remains under a state of emergency. This is the nerve center of the nation's military, the Pentagon, after a terrorist attack. The hijacked plane crashed into the building mid-morning at a time when many would be arriving for work. The Pentagon continues to smoke, and part of it collapsed.
There was no doubt about it. Whoever was piloting that plane was aiming for the Pentagon.
Around the Pentagon and throughout the city, commuters jammed local roads trying to get out of town. Many downtown buildings were evacuated and the federal government shut down. Members of Congress were rushed away.
I think this is a wake-up call for America, a sobering call.
In a city known for its tight security, extra measures are being taken tonight.
We are at threat condition Delta. That is the highest condition that we can go to. That is the absolutely appropriate thing to do given the events of this morning.
The president promised there will be payback.
Make no mistake. The United States will hunt down and punish those responsible for these cowardly acts.
President Bush will address the nation tonight, and with the flag now flying at half-staff, snipers are still keeping watch atop the White House as well as many other major buildings in the downtown area. Fighter jets are patrolling the airspace overhead. The White House, the Capitol, monuments and museums are all shut down until further notice as the city remains on high alert. Reporting live from Washington, I'm Terry Okita. Now back to you.
All right, Terry, thank you very much. Now, here at home, added precautions are being taken across Kentucky due to the attack on America. The state of Kentucky is on high alert. The Capitol building in Frankfort, plus all federal buildings, including the courthouses in London and Pikeville, have increased security to the highest level, and some have even closed. Also, the Southern Governors Association meeting in Lexington was canceled.
Phone company officials are asking everyone not to make any phone calls unless for an emergency to help keep the phone lines open. The UK hospital is on standby in case victims of the terrorist attacks need to be transported there for treatment. And airports across the country, including all of those here in Kentucky, have closed.
There are also reports of gas prices soaring in some parts of the state, plus several schools in our area dismissed classes early today, and prayer services are planned at many churches throughout our region tonight. Tracy Hensley has more on how this national tragedy has impacted us here in eastern Kentucky.
It was not your typical day in downtown London. The federal courthouse shut down operations only hours after the attacks on New York and Washington were made known.
Well, out of abundance of caution, we have heightened our security at all the federal court facilities in the Eastern District of Kentucky, which consist of federal courts in Ashland, Covington, Lexington, London, and Pikeville.
The closing of the London Corbin Airport soon followed. Law enforcement officials have sealed the area from all unauthorized personnel.
With the airport, the FAA obviously has closed down all air traffic. So we're providing security out there for limited access to the airport.
The Laurel County school system was next in line. Classes let out during the mid-morning hours. Federal officials request that administrators close the schools since several facilities are located within a mile of potential federal targets.
We were advised that we needed to go ahead and dismiss, and because of where our schools are located, and our safety for our children is first. Above everything else, we want to take care of our students.
The federal courthouse, airport, and schools are expected to remain closed until further notice. In London, Tracy Hensley, Mountain News.
We're going to interrupt our local coverage right now. We're going to go back to CBS Evening News. We have some breaking news. We are told this is being reported out of Afghanistan. Explosions being reported tonight in the Afghanistan capital of Kabul. Let's go to Dan Rather now to CBS News coverage there. We'll rejoin our local coverage when time permits.
In Kabul. Those reflections of missiles landing elsewhere, the flashes as they explode and reflecting off the clouds. But it's not a good indication. We certainly don't hear any detonations coming from that particular direction at this time. The anti-aircraft fire that we were seeing a little while ago is not coming up from the city. The city, apart from the detonations we were hearing a few minutes ago, appears very, very calm. The visibility here is excellent. We can see all the way across the city. It lies on a plain that's surrounded by the mountains here in Kabul. We have high mountains to the right. These mountains were used by the Mujahideen as vantage points for shelling the city several years ago during the Mujahideen infighting in Kabul. The last 5 years, the Taliban have been in control of this city, have been trying to extend their control over and across Afghanistan. And the Foreign Minister this evening.
That is Nick Robertson of CNN reporting live from Kabul in Afghanistan, where, as you could see, and he described, it appears that at least an oil refinery tank of some sort is on fire near the Kabul.
Well, what we know, and let's pause and tell you that there's a lot we don't know about those pictures of flames in Kabul, Afghanistan. What we know is that explosions were reported in Kabul. Then flames broke out. The CNN reporter indicated that this is a missile attack on Kabul. We have no independent confirmation of that. Yes, after the attack on the U.S. embassies in East Africa in 1998, the United States responded fairly quickly with missile attacks in a remote area of Afghanistan where it was said that U.S. intelligence had some indication that maybe Osama bin Laden or some of his units in operation were. But as these explosions light up the night sky in Kabul, the footage shown to you, courtesy of CNN, about flashes and flames in the Afghan capital, the source of those flames and explosions unknown. Now, a CNN reporter, Mr. Robertson, said, and I quote him, "There are missiles flying across the city, apparently large incoming missiles," unquote. This all happens, of course, hours after these major terrorist attacks in the United States. But one, there's been no confirmation of any missile attacks from the United States. You may note that David Martin, our very experienced Pentagon correspondent, said earlier that you could expect the United States to try to retaliate in some way. But whether this, what's happening in Kabul, Afghanistan now, is a retaliation, whether it is in fact a missile attack there, has not been confirmed. Certainly an experienced and reliable reporter on the scene. Mr. Robertson says that he just says flatly there are missiles flying across the city. But one doesn't have to know much about cruise missiles to know that it's not always easy to determine when these missiles are coming into a city. This is not to refute in any way his simply doing what reporters do, and that is until we absolutely know from at least two sources that we have U.S. missile attacks on Kabul, Afghanistan, we're going to hold off with any confirmation. The best we can say to you is there have been flames and some explosions in Kabul, Afghanistan. It's a very volatile situation inside Afghanistan. While the Taliban, the radical Muslim strong men in government and political terms in Afghanistan, control most of the country, they do not control all of it. And just yesterday, indeed, the leader of the opposition, one of the opposition forces to the Taliban, was the victim of a suicide attack, explosive planted in a television camera that, with Mr. Mossad, almost wiped him out, or may have indeed have killed him. Sense of how volatile the situation is inside Afghanistan and how hard it is to nail down any facts. And while you no doubt hear that the United States has sent missiles into Kabul, Afghanistan, we do not, I repeat, not have any confirmation of that. The one report from a reporter, the CNN reporter,
all the information, then make a...
But we're not absolutely certain. In fact, we're not certain at all that this is...
We'll make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Now, we're seeking confirmation at the moment.
CBS News' Dan Rather there. We'll keep you updated on the events also as they're going on right now. Again, missiles reported in Afghanistan, that nation's capital there tonight. Not sure where the missiles came from, whether they are U.S. missiles. We will keep you up to date as those the reports keep coming in. We're trying to get you also updated around Kentucky and also to allow you the opportunity to know what's going on here in the Commonwealth as the Kentuckians react to this travesty across the nation. Travelers are feeling the effects of the day's events as all airports have been closed.
That's right. Valeria Cummings spoke with some people waiting at the Bluegrass Airport in Lexington earlier today and has this report.
One view of the events unfolding in New York and Washington as travelers at this airport scramble for information. Many people were from the central Kentucky area looking to head out on business. Now they find themselves grounded and glued to the nearest TV.
Well, we're going to go on home. I don't think we're going to reschedule. We were going to a conference, and it's not worth the hassle. Just trusting in the Lord.
The Bluegrass Airport is now on alert, putting emergency operations into gear as it prepares for the onslaught of passengers once air travel resumes across the U.S.
And there won't be any more flights departing until further notice. We don't have a timeline on when the airspace will be opened back up. The FAA tells us until further notice.
But for now, the airport is telling travelers to stay home and wait.
The airlines are right now frantically, they're rebooking passengers, and many of them are telling me confidentially that they're going to go ahead and rebook for tomorrow, not knowing whether it's going to open back up this evening and not wanting to have to inconvenience the passenger by rebooking them yet again if it doesn't open up by this evening.
Now, Kentucky's emergency operations went into a limited activation status today. Officials with the National Guard say the order was made to ensure communication lines would remain open between state, national, and local officials.
Earlier this morning, we had a lot of conflicting reports about things going on, so I asked that we convene a limited presence EOC staff as we have here now working behind me. The primary purpose there is to facilitate the communications process. It was easier than playing telephone tag among agency heads to have a competent agency rep here talking face to face.
Now, Youngman says no threat in Kentucky was received during the day, but there are no plans at this time to activate Guard troops.
Meanwhile, as we mentioned, security has been increased at government buildings around the state, including our state capitol. Governor Paul Patton spoke about Kentucky's level of security.
I do not have undue concern for my safety or the safety of the people of Kentucky from this standpoint. I see no indication that Kentucky will be a victim of such an attack. I have no information that they would be a victim of an attack, and I'm not concerned about my personal safety.
Now, Eastern Kentucky Congressman Hal Rogers says congressional members are also watching the events as they unfold. We spoke with Rogers earlier today by cell phone, so the audio may not be that clear, but the congressman says the terrorism were acts of war.
Sustained an attack. But just as the nation was attacked at Pearl Harbor in 1941, it was not long until we were able to mobilize and get to the culprits that made that great destruction take place and wreak devastation on them. And I assure my people that that will be my effort, is to try to find those that did this and wreak devastation.
Rogers and his staff were evacuated from the Capitol this morning shortly after news of the event surfaced.
School teachers across the nation postponed their lectures to let students watch coverage of the terrorist attack on television. Steve
Hensley was at one middle school today. He joins us now with a reaction on this. Steve?
Tony, the reaction from faculty and students at Roy G. Everso Middle School in Hazard was one of total shock. It seemed every time you thought the worst was over, something else terrible would happen.
Emergency workers.
This 8th grade American history class is watching what will soon be in their history books. The terrorist attack on America stunned teachers and students alike and forced them to think about some scary possibilities.
Well, I'm kind of afraid that it might lead to another war.
I just feel sorry for the family members that some of the families lost and everything.
It's something that just seems like came out of a movie. You just can't believe it. I mean, it's unbelievable. You sit here and you wish it didn't happen. It's what you wish, instead of realizing it did happen.
Hazard High School principal Happy Mobilini has a friend that works just 2 blocks from the World Trade Center. He called to check on him after he heard about the attack.
He said he couldn't talk, that they were evacuating the entire 15, 18 block area, and he would call us back tonight and tell us what's going on.
Nancy Combs had relatives on their way to board a Washington, D.C. bound plane when she saw the scenes of chaos on television.
And I thought, I have to get in touch with them and get them back to Hazard. It's really scary.
Now, Combs' family never boarded that plane and did turn around to come back to Hazard. And Tony and Jill, that's just one of many stories we heard throughout the day from folks across Eastern Kentucky affected in some way by this catastrophe.
All right, Steve, this tragic scene touching so many lives. Thank you. Well, Kentuckians with loved ones in New York and Washington spent much of today trying to reach them to check on their whereabouts and their condition.
Tony Fugit, a Knott County native, works for the U.S. Defense Department near the Pentagon. Fugit spoke with us on the telephone just a short while ago.
You know, it's kind of odd because just yesterday we received an email because we had been at a higher level of I guess security up until yesterday, and it was lowered back to normal status just yesterday. So of course now it's at the highest, at one of the highest levels that we have. So as the initial, you know, when the initial shock starts to wear off people, and you know, it's really they realize what needs to be done, and people are acting toward that end, I guess.
Fugit and the rest of his co-workers were evacuated from nearby buildings and were sent home today. Stay with us as we continue our special coverage on the attack of America.
Coming up next, we'll have more on the concerns with fuel supplies and medical needs around the area. Stay with us.
It's coming from DQ. Something so earth-shattering, it'll rock your world. Prepare yourself for the $1.99 brownie earthquake at DQ. It's a groundbreaking combination of Oreo brownies and DQ soft serve, covered with hot fudge, marshmallow, and crushed Oreos. You get a taste sensation so shocking, your mouth won't know what hit it. You can't hide, but you can run to the brownie earthquake. Just $1.99 at DQ.
Shh. Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting for a Silverado. Where are my binoculars? Ah, Fletcher and Halls. Wow, look at all those Silverados.
Now is the time to get Silverado savings because Fletcher & Halls has a great lineup at 2001 closeout prices. Hurry to Fletcher & Halls for the 2001 Silverado closeout sale.
Chevy trucks, whack-a walk.
Hey, just because you're grown up, you don't have to act so grown up. There you go. Yeah, man, that's better. Yeah, baby. Okay, now try this, man. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Think it's kid stuff? Nah, it's cinnamon sugar swirled over squares of wheat and rice. There's a new you already. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's the adult thing to do.
Now you can get a free CD-ROM featuring a classic game like Monopoly Junior or Yahtzee in specially marked packages. Rated E for everyone.
At Appalachian Wireless, we take pride in being part of our mountain communities. By working together, we accomplish many things for our communities. The employees at Appalachian Wireless are our neighbors, committed to promoting progress in the mountains. Investing in our people makes the difference. That's Appalachian Wireless, a homegrown company serving mountain people.
You don't have to pay for a checking account anymore. Switch to totally free checking exclusively at Citizens National Bank in Floyd, Johnson, and Magoffin counties.
Internet access for WYMT and Mountain News Net, provided by KIH Online.
As many miles away as the attacks occurred, the aftershock of that terrorist attack in New York and Washington can be felt here in the mountains.
With people fearing the worst this evening, service stations were hit hard this afternoon. Long lines formed at the pumps as many folks tried to stock up, preparing for an uncertain future.
I was about half a tank, and then I had heard that, you know, everyone in town it was like a run on the gas stations, and I'd also heard that tomorrow the price was going to go up really high.
Before I get home, I'll have both mine filled up.
I guess it's just total chaos inside. I mean, with the limit and everything, I mean, everybody wants more gas than what they can get.
However, local oil company officials see this as a short-term supply and demand problem. It's caused some stations to raise prices and limit purchases.
But as far as I know, we haven't had any disruption in supply, so it has to be demand is pushing the price hikes and the shortages.
Again, all of that dealing with gas prices and also a lot of fear and anxiety. But again, we want to re-emphasize something at this point. Oil company officials say that they have received no problems of any supplies at this point. Apparently, the problem appears to be demand. Now, even though it's far away from the disaster, Kentucky is still providing some form of relief. The Central Kentucky Blood Center is giving all the blood to the American Red Cross. Coordinators say they have been bombarded with people wanting to lend a helping hand.
We've had many calls, the phones have rang off the hook, and all the donor centers. And in Lexington, they just called and said that there were donors lined up all the way out into the parking lot. So, and we're starting to see the pickup here, and we're urging people to come in.
We talk about, you know, the situation all day long, and then I guess I just thought I'd try to do some good for the community.
They still have time to donate tonight. Donor centers in Hazard, Somerset, Prestonsburg, and Lexington are extending their hours until 9 o'clock tonight.
A major concern for Kentuckians in southern Kentucky and East Tennessee is the nuclear weapons plant in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Bobby Arborough continues our coverage from Oak Ridge.
All non-essential lab employees are excused to go home and be with their families.
The announcement is concise. Its message is to the point.
We've put the lab on a heightened state of alert, upgraded our security throughout the lab. And as you just heard, we have told all employees today that since this is such an extraordinary national tragedy, it would be appropriate today to go home and be with their families.
While filing through these gates, workers at Oak Ridge National Lab tried to put the day's events and their emotions into words.
Well, we're all pretty nervous, and it's just real upsetting. I feel sorry for the people that are going through this.
This is probably the worst day we've ever had in our country since Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, I'm real nervous. I think I'm gonna go get my little girl at school.
And even though the real sounds of destruction are thousands of miles away, there are quiet concerns for this facility and assurances that safety precautions have been in place for decades.
If you are familiar with the history of Oak Ridge National Laboratory, it was built where it is because of this concern. Y-12 and the lab were put in different valleys in Oak Ridge so as to better protect them from potential air attack. Now, that's 50 years old, and this is a different situation, but those concerns were present 60 years ago.
Barb Yarrow reporting from Tennessee, and tonight from the Oak Ridge Nuclear Weapons Plant. Still ahead on the special newscast, we'll have reaction from some Eastern Kentuckians about the day's startling events.
And we'll also explain how the tragedy could affect our children. Stay with us.
I was hit by a coal truck.
Kelly called attorney Gary Johnson after the insurance company wouldn't cooperate.
I think what was really important in winning my case is that Gary Johnson's office was up to date on the most modern technology that they could use during mediation or whatever to make sure that it was apparent the degree of my injuries.
The law firm you choose makes a difference. Give us a call.
I think they're really good people.
Don't miss the Deskins Motor Company's grand opening for their fabulous Hyundai line of vehicles. The festivities begin Thursday, September 13th through Saturday the 15th. If you haven't seen the 2002 lineup of Hyundais featuring the Hyundai Advantage, the best warranty in America, you owe it to yourself to take the short drive to Deskins Motor Company and be a part of this event. That's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, September the 13th, 14th, and 15th. Only at Deskins Motor Company, Route 23, just north of Pikeville.
Hi. What's that? Morning mix.
Chex Pieces, cranberries, raisins. You know, I had an idea to invent something like this.
Really? Was it as good as your idea for the remote control toaster?
Much better.
Well, this has fruits and nuts.
I had fruits and nuts, too. I had a different name, though. Dave's Good Stuff.
Introducing Morning Mix, a grab-and-go bag of crispy Chex cereal with sweet raisins, tangy cranberries, and almonds, all mixed together.
How long did it take you to think that one up?
New Morning Mix from Chex, breakfast to go.
Another rollback saves the day by saving you even more. Walmart, always low prices, always.
Watts Homes and Hazard is slashing prices on our display model homes. Right now, you can move into this beautiful 28 by 64 3-bed, 2-bath home for as little as $286 a month for qualified buyers. You'll save over $9,000 on this fully loaded home. With Watts' fair pricing system, setup and delivery are always included. No hidden costs here. So much home for so little money, as low as $286 a month. Only at Watts Homes and Hazard.
I miss you. I miss the sound of your voice. Our late-night conversations. No one knows you like I know you. I've tried to call, but there's no answer. But I'm ready to try again. If you are. Love always. God.
Our hearts, our minds, and our doors are always open. The people of the United Methodist Church.
To be successful in the game of basketball, it is important to have a game plan and to surround yourself with winning people. This is just as important in the game of life. Hi, I'm Richie Farmer, and I was fortunate to be on winning teams throughout my basketball career. Now, I'm with another winning team, Kentucky Financial Group. We provide access to creative and innovative estate planning and investment services. Our goal is to help families and businesses work toward their financial goals. Call me today and let us put our winning team to work for you.
The devastation of today's events are being felt all across the country and right here in Eastern Kentucky. We spoke with some veterans who say they've never seen anything like today's attacks.
Well, if there's not an American in the United States that's not mad right now, he's not a true American.
On December the 7th, 60 years ago, an event happened like this that started World War II with the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And it was on a lot lesser scale than this. And President Roosevelt said that day would forever live in infamy. Well, I believe this is on a greater scale than that.
Now, the graphic images and video footage from the attack on America will probably never be erased from our minds, and for children, those pictures can be especially disturbing. Natalie Owens has a report on how you can help your children understand and deal with the tragedy.
Psychiatrist Jay Getty often works with children and says catastrophic events like Tuesday mornings can cause anxiety and even stress disorders in children.
Such traumatic event triggers a lot of fear, not only in the minds of parents, but in general in society. So that is one of my common treatment modalities or common suggestions given is open and clear communication and ventilation of the emotions.
Dr. Getty says watching the events play out on TV can be traumatic for children, but parents can help by talking to their kids about what happened and the consequences, and then realizing when their child needs more help.
Something that needs professional attention is something that is associated with significant sleep disturbance. When a child is not able to sleep, or significant appetite disturbance in their behavior, play activities, those are the certain conditions.
Dr. Getty says a change in your child's academic activity might also be an indication that he or she needs professional help. In Pike County, Natalie Owens, Mountain News.
We're going to wrap things up here in just a few minutes or so, and we're going to take it back to CBS Evening News. Stay with us.
New car sales for brand Hughes Toyota were great in August. So good, in fact, that now they're overstocked on pre-owned cars and trucks. At brand Hughes Toyota, they keep the cream of the crop of the trade-ins, then put them through a rigorous service checklist to ensure that you can purchase a great-looking, high-quality pre-owned automobile with confidence. As a matter of fact, most of their pre-owned vehicles have a 12-month, 12,000-mile warranty. Brad Hughes is confident in them, and you can be too.
Every day is a sale day. Brad Hughes Toyota.
Your authorized Toyota dealer, South Lake Drive, Prestonsburg.
This is Sharing the American Dream, brought to you by Community Trust Bank and WYMT. Happy 77th birthday, September 11th, Claude Gibson Jr. of Girdler. Happy 83rd birthday, September 11th, Magnolia Hall of Bevansville. Happy 65th anniversary, September 11th, Floyd and Otto Whitaker of Hazard. If you know someone 75 or older or a couple married 50 years or more, pick up an information form at your local Community Trust Bank or WYMT. Fill it out and mail it at least 3 weeks in advance to Sharing the American Dream, P.O. Box 1299, Hazard, Kentucky 41702.
Get your complete forecast during Mountain News This Morning, sponsored by Taylor Metal Roofing and Siding, because there's nothing more durable in all kinds of weather than a metal roof from Taylor Metal.
Company picnics, family reunions, or just a fun-filled day with the kids. You can count on Robinson's Premium Meats to supply you with all the tastes of summer. Robinson's Premium Meats, a Kentucky tradition.
You can get more stuff for Halloween when you get it at Big Lots.
I just love Halloween.
For all kinds of Halloween decorations at low closeout prices, shop Big Lots. Right now, assorted Halloween costumes are just $6.99 to $9.99.
Big Lots, brand names, closeout prices. Great Halloween stuff.
Hey folks, have you been here yet? We're located in Corbin, Kentucky and Williamsburg, Kentucky. Burr Homes, we're running some super deals.
We've got the All Champion products. We've got Fortune, Redmond, Bluegrass, Henry, Tennessee, 24 wide, 28 wide, 32 wide, 40 wide.
You name it, folks, hey, we got it. We got stuff we've never seen before.
Come by and see us.
Hey, we appreciate everything you've done for us in the past. Looking forward to the future. Burr Homes in Corbin.
We've been in this business a long time. Come by and see us.
This is it, the final days of the Ford authorized clearance with big once-a-year clearance deals on every car and truck in stock. Like a big $2,500 cash back on the built Ford Tough Ranger. And now, lease Ranger for just $153 a month. Just $153 a month. That's right, $2,500 cash back or a $153 a month lease on Ranger, America's best-selling compact truck. You can't beat that, but you better hurry, because these are the final days. The Ford authorized clearance, now at your local Ford store.
Update you now. We're going to take you back to CBS in just a couple of seconds here. Here's an update. Afghanistan, Dateline, the capital there. Explosions could be heard early on Wednesday in the capital, the vicinity of the airport. The explosions began around 2:30 a.m. their time, came in rapid succession. Curfew has been, we're told, has occurred in that capital city. Now, we're going to take you to CBS News. We want to remind you that also coming up at 11 o'clock, you can rejoin us for a very special edition of Mountain News. We'll have more Kentucky reaction of today's terrorist attacks. Now, let's go to CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.